Tiger bait, tiger bait, tiger bait.
Episode 9 of the Man in Black podcast. I am college football expert and former quarterback Josh Mancuso. Oh, wait. Hold on. I got that messed up, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. You're the expert.
You're the comedian. I'm the expert. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Good. Well, welcome to Man in Black. Josh Mancuso, Todd Blackledge. Todd, man, good week 12. Give us a recap. How do you feel about some of these big games that just played out?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. My biggest takeaways, I think that, some teams seem to really be hitting their stride. Number one, I would say Georgia is a team that is playing their best football right now. I feel like they've been the number one team all along, but they haven't looked as dominant as they have the last couple of weeks. I think Carson Beck has played outstanding football. I mean, he's going to be a future first-round draft pick at a quarterback. They got Brock Bowers back in the mix now. Defensively, they're playing very well. So I think they've hit their stride. I think Alabama's hitting their stride. I think they're playing better and more consistently on offense than they have at any time this year. I think Ohio State is playing their best football right now here at the end of the year. Their defense has been good all year, but their offense is really, kind of taking it up a notch with Travion Henderson being back in the mix. Emeka Egbuka had a big game in this past weekend, so they're getting all their pieces back together on offense and just in the nick of time before the big game against Michigan. So I think that was one of my biggest takeaways was, how some of those teams are hitting their stride, kind of the opposite end of that spectrum, how nobody has been in a worse tailspin in the second half of the year than USC. I mean, they started out 6-0, preseason ranked number 6. And then they've been, I think, 1-5 down the stretch here and just got beat pretty handily by their crosstown rival UCLA. So really a disappointing 7-5 team right now that started out the year with so much promise. So those are the teams that stood out to me. I think the biggest impression I got from this past weekend, and it was a negative one, a sad one. I just hated to see what happened to Jordan Travis with Florida State. He's had such an incredible season. The Seminoles, have had a great year, right in line to, be an ACC champion, possibly getting the college football playoff. He's playing great. And to suffer a season-ending and gruesome kind of injury there last weekend, that was just so sad to see. And to end, obviously his college career and this season that was going so well for the young man.
That was rough, and it was a rough look on camera. Yeah. It looked pretty bad. That was not no fun. It reminded me a little bit of Hendon Hooker last year against South Carolina. Had that great season. Maybe a top 5 Heisman candidate, and just could not. Just got hurt and couldn't do it. So, Georgia, you mentioned Georgia. I'm impressed with just first of all the way that they just blew through Ole Miss, Missouri, and Tennessee like it was nothing. And Missouri gave them a little bit of a fight, but really, I mean, they beat Tennessee big. They beat Ole Miss big. They are feeling unstoppable as they head into Georgia Tech, and we'll get into some upcoming games here in a minute. But let's keep looking back for a minute, and it's time for our segment that Todd and I do called "Tip of the Cap." Hats off. Yep. Okay.
All right.
You go. All
right, I'll go. All right. So I'm going to go with my team. My team that I'm tipping the cap to is New Mexico State. All right. Jerry Kill is the head coach of New Mexico State. Really a good football coach. He's been in a lot of places. So New Mexico State. So the Iron Bowl's this weekend, right? Alabama-Auburn. Huge game, great rivalry game. And both teams, they either take a bye before this game or they play some lower opponent that they can kind of rest and, kind of get an easy win and get ready for the Iron Bowl. So Alabama did that with Chattanooga, beat them to death, and didn't get anybody hurt, and they're ready for the Iron Bowl. Auburn paid New Mexico State $1.85 million to come and play. And not only did they come, they beat the home team by 21 points. So, the Aggies not only won, but they won convincingly. It's a good team. I mean, they've already clinched a berth in the Conference USA Championship game, but that is not what Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers had in mind when they invited New Mexico State to come play.
No, here's a check for $1.8 million, and also you get to have a W in New Mexico State, which, I mean, yeah, they're in the, you said Conference USA?
Yeah, yep.
Is that right? And they're good for that, but to Auburn, they ought to be beating these teams. I mean, War Eagle is more like Soar Eagle, I think now. SORE, not SOAR. That was the worst dad joke ever. Yeah, good one. Yeah, it was just wild to see that happen. Okay, well, my team, my tip of the cap is to Appalachian State for their win over James Madison. Yeah, the Mountaineers, baby, and a tough game, a good game on the road, up there in Harrisonburg. And if you remember, I picked them to upset
I know you.
I'd like to give you my wins.
Yes, I know you did.
Yeah. And so, just good for them. I mean, you mentioned it last week. That's what they do. They disrupt stuff. They just beat people they're not supposed to beat. And they're 6-4 now, 7-4, and you're thinking, okay, they may not really have a chance. I didn't get to actually watch much of the game. I saw a little bit of it, but just saw the recap, and just very cool. So tip of the cap to App State for that big road victory against the undefeated JMU.
Yep. And they got a big game against Coastal Carolina, I think, coming up this week. So
yeah,
my player that I'm tipping the cap, and I don't know if either one of us have done this or tipped our cap to this guy. If not, we probably should have already at this point in the season. But my tip of the cap is to Jaden Daniels, a quarterback at LSU, because the guy just continues to put up ridiculous numbers. Now, I know they were playing Georgia State. I get that, right? And they beat them 56-14. But this guy, after a week after accounting for over 600 yards of offense, he accounted for 509 yards of offense and 8 total touchdowns. He threw 6 touchdown passes. He ran for almost 100 yards and 2 more touchdowns. He was 25 of 30 throwing the football. That's a ridiculously high
really good
percentage, right? So, I mean, this guy has played incredibly well. I don't know. He's got a really good chance to win the Heisman. I really think he does. And when we get into that a little bit later, I'll explain why I think he has a great chance, even though they have 3 losses. But here's the thing to keep in mind. His numbers this year are similar to what Joe Burrow put up in 2019, when everybody thought nobody would ever come close to those numbers again. I mean, and Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy in 2019. But they were undefeated and went on to win a national championship. And that's the one thing that could potentially hold him back. But, I mean, right now he's number 2 all-time at LSU in only 2 years in accounting for 75 total touchdowns. And the only person ahead of him is Joe Burrow, who accounted for 88 in his 2 years that he played. So Jaden Daniels has had a remarkable season.
Just crazy. I'm with you. And it feels like a 2-man race at this point for the Heisman Trophy. Some would say maybe a 3-man, but I'm thinking a 2-man race between Jaden Daniels and who my tip of the cap goes to, in fact, which is Bo Nix. And just super impressed with his play against Arizona State. Again, not a huge team, better than Georgia State, but throws for 6 touchdowns in the first half, I think.
Right. Yeah. First half.
Yeah, the first half. And then in 404 yards, he was 24 of 29, very similar to Jaden Daniels. 404 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, it makes it look so easy. The guy has got an incredible, I think he's got 35 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions on the year. And we'll get into this again, like you say, with the Heisman Trophy ratings. But, I mean, if you're looking at quarterback rating, which is important, it's Jaden Daniels and it's Bo Nix. I mean, they're so good. And so, Bo Nix, congrats to that guy. He's playing amazing, and I've not tipped my cap yet to him, and he deserves it. So
he does. Who's your team?
My team. Did I didn't do my team yet?
No. Are you going to do Arizona again? You did App State. That's right. Yeah.
No, but I almost.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you always pick Arizona, so I thought you might pick them again, but you did. You picked App State. You're right.
I'm Arizona's best friend. Every time I pick them, they win. So going to keep that going. Okay, so it's today is Tuesday night, and the rankings just come out for college football playoff. It's Thanksgiving week, and here they are. Nothing much different other than looks like
Well,
Ohio State and Michigan swapped. Is that right?
well, they swapped. Actually, I think Ohio State was there last week, if I'm not mistaken. But the biggest
Okay.
difference is that Washington jumped over Florida State. That's the
Yeah.
biggest difference. And
Okay.
a lot of people are thinking, well, the committee probably just did that because Jordan Travis is hurt, and they have to factor that in going forward. But I really think the biggest reason, and I would have done the same thing, is the overall body of work of Washington is more impressive. I mean, they just beat their third ranked team in a row. That was a hard game going to Corvallis. We talked about it. I mean, that was an upset waiting to happen.
Oh yeah.
And, they led 22-10 at halftime, and then Oregon State came storming back and cut it to 2. And I mean, it was a hard-nosed game that Washington found a way to win. So you look at the whole season and their record and their body of work. The best win that Florida State has now is a win over LSU in the opening week, and that team has 3 losses right now. So, and that doesn't take anything away from Florida State, because I still think if they can find a way without their starting quarterback to beat Florida this week, to beat Louisville in the ACC championship game, I still think they got a great chance of being in the Final Four and being in the playoff. But for right now, I totally understand Washington jumping them into that number 4 spot.
So it feels like Washington then is in the driver's seat, right? If they just keep doing what they're doing, it's unlikely that Florida State is going to jump them.
Well, so here's the deal with Washington, right? So they had the tough game last week that they got by. Now they've got a rivalry game, the Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State, and then in all likelihood a rematch with Oregon if Oregon can win their rivalry game known as the Civil War, Oregon and Oregon State. If they both win, they're going to mate up again in Las Vegas in the Pac-12 championship game, and the winner of that game, I think, is assured to be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, as they should be. I mean, they've got to be. It'll be fun picking that game when we get closer to it, but it's hard to say who could win that. But I feel like Oregon is playing so good. I don't know that Washington can get them a second time. That's a tough thing to do. Yeah. And I look at this list, and you think about how different things are now. Alabama, is a team that I feel like if they rematched Texas, I think Alabama would win. Penn State, they're at 11, Ole Miss at 12. Once you get kind of past that, again, doesn't really matter.
Right.
Cool. Good to see Clemson working in there at 24. Liberty hanging around at 25. Tennessee somehow hanging in at 21. I don't know why. It's going to be, we got Ohio State and Michigan coming up this week, and we'll talk about those games. So let's just go ahead and go. Let's go to our upcoming games, because we've got some good ones to go over. It is rivalry week, and we're not going to talk in depth about every single game.
Wait a minute. Before we get there, I mean, I know you've kind of baited me into this picking games, which I told you when we first started this, I don't like to pick games. Right. So, last week you kind of got me into it. Now this week, like you got like twice as many games that you want to do. I mean, you're really leading me down a dark path, but I'll go there with you this week. But I want to know, last week, how did we do on our picks? Do we keep any tally? I mean, I know you hit some good ones. I know you hit the App State. I know you hit the Arizona over Utah, where I picked Utah, but I think we kind of both had an equal number of those kind of games. Like I had
we were pretty close. I mean, I think I don't know if I won or you won. I mean, I probably won.
Well, I'm assuming I won, but I just.
Oh, you're thinking okay.
Yeah. I figured if you would have won, you would have definitely had a graphic with the numbers blazing on the screen tonight.
That's true. Well, I do, and it's our producer Evan. You probably can't pull it up that fast, but I did go 9-3 on my picks.
Okay,
which is pretty good. I didn't keep up with your picks.
I think that was
your
same.
job.
I did.
Okay, you were 9. Okay, we were. Okay, I missed. I had a couple. I had Miami over Louisville. I missed that one. A couple, and Oregon State over Washington. Picking a couple. Oh, look at it. We pulled it up. Josh is. But look, Clemson over North Carolina, Kansas State.
That's
Missouri,
your prediction, right?
Virginia. These are mine. Yeah. NC State. How about NC State, man? Just getting it, just coming on in here. So all right. So here's what we'll do.
So I think those ones that you missed, I got, but the ones that you picked that I missed, I picked Duke and you picked Virginia. So you got that one right.
App State, James Madison.
I picked JMU. You picked App State. And then there was one other one that I think you got me on. Maybe not. Maybe it was
not.
Maybe it was just those two.
Yeah, maybe you actually beat me then because if you only missed 2.
Because I got UCLA. I definitely got that one. I picked.
You did.
Because of their defense, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, and I picked Clemson too. I thought you picked North Carolina in that game. Did we both pick Clemson, I guess?
We both picked Clemson, yeah.
Okay.
Sweet. Did you pick Kansas State as well?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And okay. Man, 9-3. It looks like you went.
So I might have been 10
better.
and 2. I might have been 10-2.
Yeah. That's cool. Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Really happy for you.
I should, since I'm the expert and you're the comedian. Right. I should at least be able to beat you by 1. So
that's true.
Okay.
It's kind of like like my wife with the March Madness bracket. She picks teams based on their colors and their mascots.
Right.
And ends up beating people. I don't know how. I don't know how she does it, but I pour over it like with analytics, and it takes me forever to fill out my bracket. And then I lose. So, who knows? All right, so we've got 15 games we're going to pick this week. 15. And if you're calling one, you don't have to pick it, which I guess we didn't put up here. I don't think we're doing Penn State and Michigan State, which you're calling. So
the spread's like 23.5, so it's not really one that we should pick. So
right, no, it's not a very pickable game. So we'll have to go in depth to all these games. So we're not here for 12 hours. But if you want to say a word about it, do it.
Okay.
If not, then we'll just move on. So first game, the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, tomorrow night. And that game is in Starkville. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's in Starkville.
Yeah, it's in Starkville. I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I just think they're too good on offense. A lot of turmoil with Mississippi State. Zach Arnett's on his way out. They're going to be looking for a new coach. Lane Kiffin's team, very similar to Penn State. In their 2 biggest games against the 2 best teams, they just kind of got out-muscled and outplayed, but they played really well against everyone else, and they've won the games they're supposed to win, and I think this is a game they're supposed to win.
I agree. I think Ole Miss wins big in Starkville. I don't think it's close. Mississippi State, firing their coach, undeservedly so, in our opinion, we think. So, Ole Miss. Both of us picked Ole Miss. All right, great. Egg Bowl. Next, we got TCU at Oklahoma, which last year or it normally maybe a closer game. This year, I don't know. I'm gonna go Oklahoma. Not just because the Sooners have been good to me, but I just think they're a better team. TCU doesn't have the team they had last year, and Oklahoma, that offense is too strong. So give me the Sooners. Yeah,
well, of course you're picking OU because you're part of their NIL deal right now. I mean, you're getting some NIL money from them, but I'm gonna pick OU too. I think they're better. TCU, I was just talking to my son who was at TCU for 2 years, talking about them. They lost so many good players from a year ago. They need one more win to get bowl eligible, I think. But I don't think they'll get it in Norman. I think Oklahoma still has a lot to play for, still has a chance to play in the Big 12 championship game. So I think the Sooners take care of business.
Good deal. Why? Okay, hang on, Todd. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Look at those. Look at those babies. Yeah. Straight on NIL deal.
Yeah, you're rolling in it, man.
All right, I'm tangled up here.
Yeah.
I'm tangled up. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I'm back. But the shoes. I'm posting the strong. Got the drip. I don't even know what that means, the drip. But okay. All right. Iowa at Nebraska. We're thinking like a 7-6 game here. Who's your pick? Iowa at Nebraska.
This is an intriguing game. This one's on Black Friday also. I mean, my game's on Black Friday. This one's during the afternoon. Iowa just clinched the Big Ten West with the perfect score for an Iowa game, 15-13. They beat Illinois. And so it was a safety in the first quarter. That was the difference in the ball game. Great defense, not a lot of offense. Nebraska, even though they lost to Wisconsin, they played a new quarterback in Chubba Purdy, Brock Purdy's little brother, and he played very well. And I think he gives them a different dimension and an ability to have a more balanced offense. So I'm going to take the Cornhuskers in this one, even though that's probably a hard bet because Iowa doesn't beat themselves and Nebraska has been, had turnover problems all year. But I'm going to take the Huskers at home because they need this game. Iowa's already in the Big Ten championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska needs this win to become bowl eligible for the first time in 6 years. So I'm going with the Huskers.
That's a great pick. I kind of want to pick them. It's in Lincoln, right? Yeah. I mean, so, I'm going to go Iowa just so we're different. That's the main reason why. I don't know a whole lot about either of these teams.
That's the safer pick. It's a safer pick for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't usually pick the safe one, but I'm going to with the Hawkeyes here. All right, so Iowa at Nebraska, high scoring affair, no doubt, coming up. All right, we got Miami at Boston College. Not entirely sure why we're picking this one, but I threw it in there. Miami at Boston College. I'm going Hurricanes just because they're a better team, and I keep picking them to win big games, upset teams like Louisville and Florida State, and they've come close both times. Haven't done it.
Right.
Going to Boston College, and I think they're going to get it done up there.
They should. The only thing I think that would cause Miami to struggle is if it's a horribly ugly, cold, nasty day in the East Coast. I don't have any idea what the weather's supposed to be like, but if it's decent weather, normal football weather, I think Miami is clearly the better team and should win the game. So I'm going to take the Hurricanes as well.
Okay. All right. We're both going Hurricanes on that one. Good one. Here we go. Texas Tech at Texas. Can Texas Tech come in and upset the Longhorns here? What do you think?
No, they can't. No. I mean, they can, but I think Texas is in a really good place. Texas last week beat Iowa State 26-16. And you might look at that and say, that's not that impressive. Well, let me explain why it was impressive. First of all, in the last 4 trips to Ames, Iowa, Texas has lost 3 times, okay? Iowa State kind of had Texas's number. Texas went in. It was a hard-nosed game. It was only 6-3 at halftime. They hold on and win 26-16. This is a different Texas team. It's a mentally tougher team. It's a physically tougher team than they've been in the last several years. Quinn Ewers is back. Even though they lost their starting running back, Jonathan Brooks, a true freshman, C.J. Baxter, stepped into his place, carried it 20 times for 117 yards. They're really good on defense in the defensive front. I think Texas is a legitimate championship caliber team, and I think they'll take care of business here and then go to Arlington and play whoever meets them there for the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, which could be a rematch with Oklahoma.
Yeah, could be.
Very likely. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, I'm going Texas as well. I just don't see Texas Tech being able to do a whole lot with Texas here. So, yeah, give me the Longhorns. Okay. Kentucky at Louisville.
Yeah, interesting game.
Interesting game, and it could be a little sneakier there for Louisville than they think. I'll go ahead and give you my pick. I'm going with Louisville because I've picked against Louisville a couple times and lost. So I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm going to put my faith in the Cards. So I think Kentucky's just, they're like USC, right? They've won a bunch of games early on. Now they've lost 4 or 5 in a row almost. Just can't. They lost to South Carolina, I think, last week. They just can't. They can't get it done. So yeah, Louisville Cardinals over the Wildcats.
Yeah, Kentucky's an SEC team. Louisville's an ACC team. Kentucky plays hard-nosed defense. They can run the football. But I like Louisville this year, particularly because the game's at home, and they've just got so much ahead of them still, and they don't want to go into that ACC championship game, coming off of a downer. So they want to play their best ball right now. So I like them. Here's an interesting thing. Jeff Brom, his first year at Louisville, has the Cardinals in the ACC championship game for the first time in program history. His last year at Purdue, he took Purdue to the Big Ten championship. First time Purdue had ever been to the Big Ten championship game as well. So in back-to-back seasons, Jeff Brom now as a head coach has taken 2 different programs to the conference championship game for the first time ever in school history. Pretty good.
That's that is really impressive. That's insane.
Yeah.
Are we looking for a phone call from Jimbo or Texas A&M? A&M calling to Jeff. Can you come save us? Maybe we'll
Maxwell
see that.
Smart talking to your shoe there. Remember
that's right. Talking to an Oklahoma shoe about Texas A&M. Yeah. Professionals. Okay. speaking of Texas A&M, they're going to LSU. A&M at LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, do the Aggies have a shot here?
Oh yeah, they definitely have a shot because they still got a lot of talent on their roster, even though
Yeah.
the coaching situation is in flux. And LSU has not played defense very well all year. They've had to outscore people and rely on Jaden Daniels to be, remarkable. And I think he will be again in his final home game. Plus, my wife went to LSU. She's going to be there at the game. She's going back there for Thanksgiving. She's going to tailgate before the game. I have to go with LSU. And I was asked this question in an interview last week, my favorite mascots. Okay. So I don't like dress up mascots. I don't like people in costumes. I like live animal mascots. Right.
Yeah.
And so my favorite, it's a tie, although Reveille for A&M is a great mascot too, but Mike the Tiger is, he's one of the all timers, and his habitat there on campus is like, it's like plush. It's multi-million-dollar tiger habitat. So Mike the Tiger is legit. I think he and Ralphie the Buffalo, I think, are my two favorite live mascots, Colorado and LSU.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have to add Smokey in there, I think.
Smokey's good. Yeah. Smokey's good.
Smokey's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mike the Tiger, you got a real tiger in your stadium. It's like the Roman Empire here. We're just letting tigers into the stadium. No big deal. That's awesome.
Back in the day, way back in the day, when my dad was an assistant football coach at the University of Kentucky back in the mid 70s, they played down there at LSU one time, and they used to have Mike the Tiger in a cage right in front of the visiting team's locker room. And when the team would come out, they would do something to incite Mike and make him growl. And all the fans are chanting, "Tiger bait, tiger bait, tiger bait, tiger bait." Yeah, that would be a little bit intimidating, I think.
That's awesome. Just a bunch of Ed Orgerons up in the stadium.
Yeah, right.
Tiger bait. Yeah, they're just slapping raw meat on the cage, getting them riled up.
Yeah.
And he's just ready to eat somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Wow. I'll take LSU too. I'm fired up now. I feel like I can just run through a wall. Give me the LSU Tigers. Jaden Daniels has another Heisman-worthy game, which would be his last game of the year. And then hoping that Bo Nix or somebody else doesn't have an additional Heisman moment in their conference championship game.
Yeah.
So, LSU Tigers for the win there in Baton Rouge. Okay, Colorado at Utah. Colorado is they're bowl eligible, right? Or they're almost bowl eligible, I think.
No, they're not going to get there. They only have.
They're not going to get there.
They're 4 wins.
Okay.
They started out 3-0, and it looked like guaranteed they'd get bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And then they've struggled. They've only got 4, and so even if they win this week, they won't get to a bowl. And I'm going to take Utah. I took Utah last week against Arizona, and they got spanked. Arizona just got after them. Jumped on them from the very beginning. We're out 28-0, but I'm going to take Utah at home against Colorado. I think they're still the better team, and they got to be inspired by the news that Cam Rising, their quarterback, just announced he is coming back for his 7th year of college football. 7.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He's rising, all right.
He'll be older than several starters in the NFL next year.
That's crazy. That's his age is rising as well.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going Utah as well. Colorado is a lot of hype and they're good. They got great talent. it's great, but they're just not going to be able to handle Utah.
I just think they've run out of it down the stretch here. They don't have enough depth, and it just caught up with them. So
it's a remarkable what they've done there. Despite only winning 4 games this year, that's pretty significant what they've done. So, all right, the Utah Utes for the win. Todd and I are both on the same page here. Okay, next is the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll make my pick first, and maybe I should do mine first. That way, that I'm not just picking your pick because you're the expert, and that way that I'm picking a genuine pick that's in from my head. So Alabama versus Auburn, which is not a hard pick at this point. Alabama goes in there and I think just rips Auburn a new one after they lost to New Mexico State. I'm sure they'll be fired up and ready to play, but they just got embarrassed. Now they're going to get embarrassed at home again, this time by a team that's 12 times as good as New Mexico State. So the Tide rolls in, takes care of business.
I'm going to take Alabama too, but I think it'll be a much closer game than you might be expecting, just because it is the Iron Bowl, and Auburn gets ready for this game, and they will play way differently and with much more focus and energy and passion than they showed last week at home against New Mexico State. So I think they will play well, but I think Alabama's just too good and has too much to play for right now.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Bama. Next up is an intriguing matchup, I think, which is BYU at Oklahoma State. BYU, a team I just kind of started watching just a couple weeks ago, they're pretty dang good. I mean, they've got some good things going on there at Oklahoma State. But I think Oklahoma State, despite their big loss to Central Florida a few weeks ago, I think they beat BYU. I think Ollie Gordon rushes for a bunch of yards, and I think they hold it up. But I think it'll be a really close game.
I'm going to take Oklahoma State as well, because they still have a shot at the Big 12 championship game. If the game was in Provo, I would maybe think differently about it. But the fact that it's in Stillwater and Oklahoma State is still in contention, I don't know what the tiebreakers or how that all plays. I just know they still have a shot to get to Washington. So I'm going to take the Cowboys as well.
Good deal. Okay,
next up. I'm 40. I'm a man.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm 40.
Yeah.
He's like, look at this. Look at this. I'm a man. For that mullet, just like waving in the. Oh, it's beautiful. I wish you'd grow that mullet back out the way it used to be.
Did you ever see the thing that went on social media of him like doing a promotion for, Oklahoma State is well known for their wrestling team, and he did some kind of a deal where he was filmed in his office doing some kind of promo wearing a wrestling singlet. So picture a guy in a singlet with a mullet, the mullet and the singlet together. Mike Gundy.
That's awesome. Well, there's a lot of Saturday nights I put my mullet on and wear one of those singlets.
That's right.
Here at home. I mean, at home, I just run around in one of those things. So, and outside around the neighborhood a little bit as well. Yeah. But all right, so Oklahoma State, they're gonna win that. They say go Pokes. That makes me a little uncomfortable, but they're the Cowboys. Why can't you just stick with that? Why are you gonna go with the Cowpokes? Whatever. It's a mascot video coming soon on them. Okay, in-state rivalry that Georgia at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, I think. I'm picking Georgia, obviously. I don't know if Georgia Tech will make it a game or not. They certainly have surprised some people this year and performed pretty well. So it may not be an absolute, thundering win, but if they're going to win, I would imagine, pretty handily. So, dogs.
Yeah, I think Georgia wins this one handily. Georgia Tech has had a pretty good season this year, better than people thought. It's interesting with Georgia and then Georgia's fan base. They have a lot of rivalry games, and depending on where you live in the state or kind of what your background is, that determines what game you think is the biggest. So people that live like near the Alabama state line, the Georgia-Auburn game is the biggest game, the South's oldest rivalry. They're not very far apart. People that live in southern Georgia, the Georgia-Florida game played in Jacksonville is the biggest game of the year. People that live up in the north, I guess it would be northeast part, Georgia-Tennessee is a huge rivalry, right? But the old school Georgia fans, the old dyed-in-the-wool, old generation Georgia fans, Georgia Tech has always been the number one rivalry, the in-state rivalry. So it's a big deal. It's a big game for Georgia people, but I think the Bulldogs handle it pretty easily.
Yeah, the Rambling Wreck.
Yeah. So they'll be in Atlanta for this game, and then they'll come back to Atlanta next week for the SEC championship game, which is kind of their home away from home now.
It is. They've taken over Atlanta. Georgia Tech is like, dang, we can't even hold down our own city here. So that's all right. All right. So Georgia, good pick there for both of us. We're on the same page here, Tom Blackledge. We're going to have to mix it up. Florida State at Florida in the swamp. I don't know. Florida certainly does not have, the year that they've all wanted, but Florida State, amazing going to the swamp. Look, I'm feeling a little crazy. They lost Jordan Travis, heartbreaking, but I feel like Florida Gators are somehow going to pull it out. They're in the swamp. The atmosphere is going to be nuts. And Billy Napier is going to save his job with a win over the undefeated Florida State Seminoles.
Okay. All right. I can understand the logic of that pick. The one thing that you probably are not aware of, because, I don't know if you have how much you have your ear to the ground on college football, but I know you pay attention, but not only is Jordan Travis out, and so Tate Rodemaker is going to be the new quarterback for Florida State, but Graham Mertz suffered a bad collarbone injury in the loss to Missouri. So Florida will be playing a backup quarterback. Well, if Graham Mertz was playing, I think that would have been a really good pick for Florida in this game. But I'm going to go with Florida State to keep their undefeated season alive on the road in the swamp and head to the ACC championship game undefeated.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. No, I did not know Graham Mertz got hurt. And that's information that I wish that you would have shared with me before I made my pick. We're boys, you and me.
We are.
So, but it's too late to change my pick, though, isn't it? Once you pick it, you're in.
Card laid's a card played.
Okay. All right. So, go Gators. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Inside the state of North Carolina, where you live, North Carolina at NC State. Give me the Wolfpack. It's home game for the Wolfpack, and North Carolina has been disappointing all of us all year. I'm mad at them. So Wolfpack, NC State, the red team.
You know what? I'm going to go the same way. I like Mac Brown. I love Drake May, the quarterback. I think he's going to be a top 5 pick. He might even get picked ahead of Caleb Williams. I don't know. But, Dave Doran's team plays hard-nosed defense. They play good at home. They kind of, they get really up to play North Carolina. I like North Carolina State in this game as well.
Yeah. All right. Good. Look at us. Look at us on the same page. Okay. 2 left. Out here, I think you called this the Civil War, Oregon and Oregon State.
Yeah.
It's Oregon State. Is it in Eugene?
Yeah, it should be in Eugene.
Okay. So not that makes a difference. Honestly, I would have picked Oregon anyways. Oregon, I think it could be a close game. I don't know. I don't have any idea, but I trust Oregon and their offense and Dan Lanning and what he's done. The Ducks continue to win, and will likely. I think I'll go ahead and pick them over Washington in the Pac-12. I'll go ahead and do that as well, and we'll see them in the Final Four. So
yeah, I like Oregon too. I think they're playing as good as anybody in college football right now. Ever since the Washington game, they have not really had a game that was that close. I think they've been dominant. They play great complementary football. Bo Nix is playing lights out, but their defense is really good as well. So yeah, I like Oregon in this game as well.
Okay. All right. The big matchup, the granddaddy here is going to be Ohio State and Michigan. Everybody is looking forward to this game. What are the repercussions if one loses? What happens to that team? The winner, we know what happens to the winner. So I'm going to let you go first on this one. I'm going to let you go first. I want your analysis because I'm leaning one way, but I want to hear what you say first. All right.
Okay.
Ohio State and Michigan.
Okay. So I'm going to take my time with this. All right. So for most of the year, I thought and have thought Michigan is the most complete team that I've watched in person all year. Of course, I haven't done Georgia, haven't done Alabama, didn't do Oregon, didn't do Washington. But of the teams that I saw in person or watched on tape, Michigan was the best team that I saw. I thought J.J. McCarthy was playing at Heisman level, elite level. Their defense was elite. I know their schedule wasn't great, but that didn't take away from what I saw and their talent and their depth, okay? I thought Ohio State, because I had them early against Notre Dame, and then I had them again, and I thought, their defense is really, really good. Their offense just is not quite clicking. Their running game's not quite as good. The quarterback looks good one series and not as good the next. But the longer this season has gone on, the better they have looked on offense. Part of that is Travion Henderson being back changes their running game completely. Kyle McCord looks better and better each week. Not only Marvin Harrison, I think, is one of the 2 or 3 best players in all of college football. And now Emeka Egbuka is back healthy. He had 5 catches for 93 yards in their win against Minnesota. So I think Their defense has been great all year, and their offense is playing their best ball right now. Okay. I still think Michigan on paper is a better team. But I will say this. I think Michigan is going to feel the effect of not having Jim Harbaugh on the sideline more in this game coming up than the previous two. They got away with it. They won at Penn State. They won at Maryland. But last week at Maryland, J.J. McCarthy was not great looking. He did not play as well. And I think him in particular misses the presence of his head coach because they have a great rapport, a great relationship. Jim is a former quarterback, gives him a lot of great input. And I think JJ misses him on the sideline. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Ohio State goes in and Ryan Day gets the win this year after losing 2 in a row to Michigan. That's
a solid pick. And that's a great analysis right there. And I'm with you. Michigan struggled against Maryland. I thought Maryland might pull up an upset there last week for a minute. And I have not seen either team play in person. Obviously, I've only seen a few teams in person, but I've tried to watch as much as I can. And I'm impressed by both teams. I feel like I'm flipping a coin with my limited knowledge. And so I was leaning Ohio State. But since you picked Ohio State, I think I'll lean and I'll go to Michigan. I'll kind of go home team, home field advantage, the big house, rocking, making it difficult on Ohio State to communicate, making it difficult on their team. And so I'll go Michigan and just to make the story even deeper and thicker with the Harbaugh saga, we'll just let Michigan win this one and then see what happens. So I'll go blue.
Yeah, I mean, and all along, I would have thought Michigan, but just something is saying Ohio State to me. But I love Michigan's team. I love I think Blake Corum, Blake Corum didn't play in the game last year because he got hurt in the Illinois game. And 2 years ago when they won in Ann Arbor, he was like the second back. Hassan Haskins was the main back. Blake Corum was the changeup guy. Now Blake Corum is the bell cow. This is his time to play against Ohio State. I would expect him to play well. It's going to be an incredible football game. It really is going to be an incredible football game. And make no mistake, even though Maryland played well last week and kept that game close, in the end, it was the Michigan defense that won the game. I mean, they had a safety, they had a block punt that resulted in a safety. They had another safety late in the game that made it a 7-point game. 2 interceptions by Mikey Sanders. And at the end, in the last 3 or 4 possessions, Maryland had the ball. They got stonewalled by the Michigan defense. So they are a really, really good football team. And, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm glad my game's on Friday night because I will be curled up on a recliner somewhere, with some good food and something to drink, watching that game and enjoying the heck out of it.
Well, that sounds good. I'll be doing the same thing. We'll be decorating the house for Christmas as we do after Thanksgiving. But I'll be stopping at that point and say, everybody, we're watching the game. Great pick. So bonus pick here. Tennessee has Vanderbilt at home. You're going to keep the Vols, right? On this one. Surely Vanderbilt doesn't come in and do something crazy.
No.
Okay.
Go Vols.
It's tough that Tennessee's in-state rivalry is Vanderbilt. It would be great if it was a better team. It's also nice that we beat them every year, so it's kind of a guaranteed win for the most part. Okay, good stuff. Well, all right, so we're going to watch Marvin Harrison Jr. play in this big game against Michigan. He could have a Heisman moment, possibly, or not. He could have just a good game or a normal game, or he could be shut down. Who knows what's going to happen? But I released, after I did do some good research, but I released my Heisman Trophy top 10. Now, I like to shake things up sometimes just for the sake of shaking things up. So, I got a lot of people commenting on my post saying, oh, this looks great. But I got a lot of people who are like, you're smoking something. What's the matter with you? Now, I'm like, so Jaden Daniels to me is the best player in the country. He's done the most for his team. You take him out of that team and they are struggling. He runs it, he throws it. He's got the highest quarterback rating of anybody. You look at the leading rushers in the nation. He's like top 5 or something in rushing, plus, and he's the best player in the country. And I got Bo Nix next, Michael Penix Jr., and then throwing in Ollie Gordon there. I mean, he's the leading rusher in the country, as well as Amarian Hampton. But I've got Dylan Gabriel in there. I've watched him play in person. We're super impressed with him. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Troy Franklin, wide receiver at Oregon, and then Caden Salter, who I'm just throwing in there to give him a little bit of love, since his team is 11-0 or 12 whatever they are. They're undefeated, and he's actually, if you look at quarterback rating, it is Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and then Caden Salter. Now I realize his schedule is nothing like those other guys' schedules, but he's been remarkable. His touchdown interception ratio is amazing, and he runs the ball to almost 1,000 yards rushing as well. Now, just giving him some love there at number 10. He's got no shot to be close to this thing. But the biggest shockers here from people, I think, are they're saying, where's Carson Beck? That is one question I've been getting. Where is Carson Beck? Why is he on your list? And why is it Marvin Harrison higher? Marvin Harrison Jr. So, give me your initial thoughts. What is your take on my Heisman Trophy list? Besides how great the graphics are, the
graphics are beautiful, and
dynamite.
I would say your first three guys up there, I have no problem with. I think you begin to go off the rails a little bit after that. I know Ollie Gordon's had a great year, but I would have Marvin Harrison up on that upper line, probably in that number 4 spot. And then if he would not have gotten hurt and missed a few games, my number 5 guy would be Brock Bauer, because I think, to me, the Heisman is supposed to be for the best player in college football, the most outstanding player in college football. And it's hard for me to think of anyone more valuable to their team at any position than Brock Bowers from Georgia or Marvin Harrison of Ohio State. Now, here's why I think Jaden Daniels has a great chance of winning this award, even though his team lost 3 games. They will not play in a conference championship game, and they will not be in the college football playoff. Michael Penix and Bo Nix, there's a lot of West Coast voters and people in that part of the country. They're going to split votes between those 2 guys, right?
Right.
No one guy is going to carry that area because they both have had phenomenal seasons. Marvin Harrison Jr., if he has a monster game against Michigan, if he has a monster game against Michigan and they happen to win, he's going to carry a big chunk of voters in the Midwest. And Jaden Daniels, there's no one else in the South or the Southeast or the Southwest that is competing against him. So I think that because there aren't other players in his region, even though they've lost 3 games and even though they won't be in the championship game, he's got a really good shot. If he has another similar kind of game against A&M this weekend in his last showing, I would not be surprised or shocked if he wins the award. But really, any of those first 3, the way they've played, if one of those 3 would win, I would say, congratulations. I mean, there's an argument to be made for all three of them, right?
They all deserve it to an extent,
And I think Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he definitely should be in New York with those guys. He may not win it. He'll win the Biletnikoff Award as the best receiver. But he may be the best player in college football as well. And if he shows it against Michigan on Saturday, who knows?
So, and what do you think? What do you think separates him from a guy like Malik Neighbors, who I've got ahead of him, or Troy Franklin, who both have more touchdowns than him, more yards than him? Right? They may not be as talented as him. I don't know, but I wasn't basing this just on stats, but I just trying to give these guys some love. But what separates Marvin from those other 2 guys?
Well, first of all, Marvin is the complete package. He is so NFL ready. I mean, right now, he will be a great player from day one in the NFL because he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he runs great routes. He has great hands and ball skills. I mean, he is the total package of a wide receiver and is ready-made for the NFL right now. Here's the other thing. Malik Neighbors, who's he had throwing to him all year this year? Jaden Daniels. Right? Troy Franklin, who's he had thrown to him in what offense all year? Bo Nix, right? Marvin
Yeah.
Harrison Jr. has been working with a first-time starting quarterback in Kyle McCord at Ohio State. And so he's not going to have the same kind of numbers that those other guys had, or that he would have had if CJ Stroud was still his quarterback at Ohio State,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
So you can't just go on numbers, but I mean, when you watch
Sure.
him play, he has the ability to dominate a football game. I think those other guys are really good receivers, but I don't know if they have the ability to dominate a game the way Marvin Harrison Jr. can.
Yeah, good info. Good info. You know, what's interesting to me, and again, it's not just about stats by any means. You know, Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee last year had better numbers than all three of these guys.
Yeah.
Currently, you say, well, yeah, okay, well, it was the scheme, it was Heupel's scheme, or it was he had Hendon Hooker throwing to him. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely not. So it's not numbers by any means. Again, nobody cares about my top 10 list, but I think it's pretty easy to keep those first three up there. And then I could see the case for Marvin being up there at 4 as well. Gabriel, you know, I probably got him too high, but I would still put him in the top 10, I think.
He's had a great year. No, he's had. I looked at his numbers today because I had to vote for the Davey O'Brien Award, which is the quarterback award that I was fortunate to win my senior year, and I'm a voter for it. And looking at his numbers on the ballot, you know, I mean, I think he's got 11 touchdown runs to go with a bunch of touchdown passes. He's got over 300 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns rushing to go with some really great passing numbers as well. So he has had a remarkable year this year. Yeah,
and not a tall guy. He's 5'11", maybe. I met him in Oklahoma, and I didn't even recognize him hardly. I shook his hand. And I was like, "Why are you and I eye to eye? Like you should be higher, taller." But yeah, good stuff there. Great analysis. I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy more. Maybe next week as we get closer to it actually happening. And the Davey O'Brien Award. Maybe you're a Heisman voter and a Davey O'Brien voter, so we'd love your insight there as much as you can give us without doing anything you're not supposed to do. But okay, so last little bit here is a Would You Rather segment.
Didn't know we had that this week.
Yeah, it's a bonus question. Just one question. Very simple. Would you rather Thanksgiving or Christmas? Which one's better? Is there a debate here? Because people got their trees up. Like Thanksgiving's not even going to happen.
Yeah.
Like give Thanksgiving its moment before giving Christmas its time. Okay. But, you know, some would say, well, look, it's just we're celebrating both. All right. So, you know, would you rather Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Okay, I mean, I don't like this question because I love both holidays.
I knew you wouldn't.
So, I mean, I would, if I had to choose, I would choose Christmas because it has more meaning to me than Thanksgiving. But I love Thanksgiving because when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of food, which you know I love, family, and football. I mean, that's what Thanksgiving is, all of that, and I love all of that, right? And tryptophan and naps and getting up and leftovers and all that, right? But if I had to choose, I would choose Christmas because of the overall meaning of Christmas and what that means to me personally and my family and whatnot.
Right.
So
yeah, good, solid answer. Yeah, I feel the same way. Christmas is, you know, I think is the superior holiday, of all. Maybe Easter is equally as important,
right?
But we don't celebrate it quite like we do with Christmas. But Thanksgiving, I want people to give Thanksgiving its time, and then that's why we wait till after Thanksgiving to put up our tree, just because we don't want to steamroll Thanksgiving. We don't want it to feel like it's not.
We still have our pumpkins. We have Christmas lights on our house, but we still have our pumpkins on our front porch.
Perfect.
Until Thanksgiving's over. When we get, after this weekend, the pumpkins go, and now we lock into Christmas. But
now we're locked in, baby.
Yeah, lock it in, man.
And then we're going into Christmas mode. Yeah, we got a few Christmas things out, but it's like we're still in Thanksgiving mode. But I have listened to a couple Christmas songs this week. Just kind of feeling it a couple times. Have you done that at all?
Yeah, I mean, getting in the car, it's on the radio station or whatever, going to the grocery store that's playing in the grocery store. I have not done it at the house yet. I have not selected Christmas music yet, although I have some excellent Christmas playlists
Okay.
for when the time is right. But just
Okay.
places I've gone, they've already started that.
Okay. Well, we're going to put that on a list for maybe next week or the week after about Christmas music, Christmas playlist. I can just see you popping on a Tony Bennett record, Christmas album.
Love the old school stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
love the old school stuff. And the
That's
new
the best.
Yeah. My son Eli, who's the music guy who lives in Nashville, he
Yep.
puts together some incredible playlists for Christmas every year. And just it's a mix and a blend of old, new, all different genres. Excellent. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we did it. Our Thanksgiving episode is complete. Todd, have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday.
You
And
too.
to everybody listening, to the millions listening and watching out there, happy Thanksgiving. This is the Man in Black podcast. See you next week.
Adios.